Now we've had a chance to have a look through each of the different summary block styles. We can now put it into action with a different content type. In this case, we're going to have a look at the event feed and show how we can feed in calendars or summary blocks into our pages. So first up, we're going to click on this plus in the menu navigation. If you're struggling to find where that is, go back to the main menu in Squarespace, then jump into pages. Then we can click on the plus icon. In Squarespace 7.1, it's been shuffled around a little bit, so there's fewer options to see here, which make things more simple. And we can see the events option. We're going to click on that. We've got two different styles. One which has a banner, one without. We're going to select the simpler event option 1. We're going to leave it as events. And then we can just click and drag the page into position by clicking and holding it. And as soon as we release the mouse button, it'll release it into position. We can see our menu item is now in place. We've got some dummy events which will do the job. Of course, with a real event listing, you will go through and add in your own photos. That will add a lot to the overall impact and style. So if we go back to our home page now, we could add this in via a couple of different options. First of all, we could go right down to the bottom of the page and maybe add a section for events, or we could add in content in this text area, for example. So I could click on this plus icon, then we go and find our summary block. And it defaults to wall, but the difference is now we've got the events option to select. Nice and straightforward. First thing you can notice straight away is that we now have the date thumbnail overlapping the thumbnail image. That's a nice little feature, and it will auto-detect if it's an event calendar. We then have our styling options. So instead of using wall, we might use a carousel here. So it shows the 3 forthcoming events with the arrows to select and to flick through. Now we may decide actually we only want 3 in total, so the arrows disappear. We could then either add in our title, which defaults to featured, or we could remove that and have a very simple 3-column layout. I like this 3-column layout. It's nice and effective, does just what we need. We've got a couple of different options as well to style it. We could disable the excerpt option and just have a very simple feed. We could also decide that actually, instead of having the date post, we could just leave this badge in the top corner and then replace that with other metadata. So the positioning is managed via the design tab. The content that goes into the metadata is set up via the content tab. So here we could add in the time, should we want to. So we could decide to remove the date because the date's already in that top right-hand corner. Bear in mind it doesn't have the year as well. So if you've got events going into 2-3 years down the line, this option in the metadata area would be more suitable. We could then filter items through. So if we had categories for our events, we could just bring through a single category, and we've used this to really good effect on projects in the past. Another option is you could showcase events that happened in the past, but in most cases with events, we're looking at upcoming. So everything starting from today going forward, and everything in the news or blog area will be from today into the past. So that's the first option. We've added a summary block with a carousel showing the next 3 events. And we've also added in the time of the event as well. Next up, and this is And another feature I've used to really good effect for sport websites, so community sport clubs, where they may have the next fixture as a priority 1 piece of information. It's really important that those details are seen straight away, because this is essentially the billboard for the website, and we could have that similar effect as well. So we could also, with an event listing, we could add a calendar, which will allow you to flick through by month. But again, we're going to add a summary block. We're going to bring through the events. Could leave it as that if we wanted to, but we're going to go into design. And we're going to choose to remove excerpt and potentially the thumbnail image as well. We're going to reduce it down to 1 item. Centrally align it. And we could choose list format. So as we can see, we've got the next event coming up. It's still coming out a little bit small. So we could go back into design and change the text size to XL. We can then put our own title in, centrally aligned. And then we can put the next event in. This will automatically populate as long as we have future events in our event area. And that's a nice little feature to add. We can also custom style this to really push the boat out and make it feel like it's a core part of the website. But there's just a couple of ideas for how we can combine the event listing area and summary blocks to good effect.